Part 16. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 152. Suyisha was drunk and looked at him with a smile. Li Jie, do you want me? Li Jie didn't expect that she would say such a thing. He was obviously stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, Senior sister, you are drunk. I'm not drunk, she smiled wantonly. Whether you want it or not, I'll give it to you if you want it. You don't have to be responsible. Li Jie looked at Suyisha, whose cheeks were flushed and her beautiful eyes were blurred, and she was letting herself indulge in drunkenness. His Adam's apple couldn't help but slide. If he hadn't been drinking, Li Jie would have pushed Suyisha away, but now he was a little drunk. Under the stimulation of alcohol, he was excited and impulsive, and he couldn't control himself. However, he still restrained himself with the last trace of reason. Suyisha was obviously drunk. Touching her at this time would be taking advantage of others' danger. Senior sister, you are so drunk, Li Jie tried to pull her arm away. But the next moment he was confused. It turned out that Suyisha's arms wrapped around Li Jie's neck, and with a sudden force, she pushed his head down, and then kissed him. Li Jie only had one thought in his mind, he was actually pushed backwards. Put this to the test, how can he stand this test? In an instant, all reason and scruples were thrown away. Li Jie suddenly turned over and seized the initiative, pressing Suyisha on top of him. He kissed her passionately. Li Jie couldn't help but think of the little black underwear he saw in the bathroom before, and he wanted to know what Suyisha was wearing under it now. His wish was finally fulfilled. Omitting dozens of words here. Li Jie was also surprised. He had sobered up a lot after learning that Suyisha had an ex-boyfriend whom he had been dating for more than 4 years, he guessed that she would definitely not be inexperienced. Omitting dozens of words here. The next morning, Suyisha woke up and when she opened her eyes, she found that she was held tightly in Li Jie's arms without any clothes on her body. She was stunned for a moment and gave Li Jie a complicated look. I didn't expect this normally gentle and calm boy. Thinking of this, Suyisha's face couldn't help but heat up. Then she sighed again. Regarding her indulgence last night, she admitted that she was a little impulsive, a little angry, and even a little self-defeating. But she has no regrets. She and Xie have broken up, so there is no question of cheating. From the moment she broke up with Xie, she only had to be responsible for herself and no longer needed to be responsible for him. It's just that Li Jie seems to have a girlfriend, which makes her feel a little guilty. Just this night, Suyisha told herself in her heart. Senior, you're awake. At this time Li Jie also woke up. Looking at Suyisha who was held in his arms, Li Jie shook his head in his heart. It was really a waste of time to drink. But now everything that needs to be done has been done, and it's too late to say anything. Stop calling me senior, call me Suyisha, right? Suyisha looked at him deeply. I don't know who forced her to call her husband last night. Xiaosha, I'm sorry, Li Jie said a little embarrassed. He really took advantage of others last night. You don't have to say sorry, I was the one who started it. Suyisha gave a complicated smile and said, what happened last night was just my impulse. So, just forget it. Let's just pretend that nothing happened. Just pretend it never happened. Li Jie actually had no idea how to deal with the aftermath. But he didn't want the relationship to end after one night, so he had to convince her. Li Jie, don't do this, we can't continue, Suyisha resisted weakly. Li Jie suddenly felt more confident. He would be a fool to listen to her and stop. Senior, this time. Compared to Suyisha, Li Jie still prefers to call her senior sister. He said hesitantly. Li Jie was secretly happy when he heard this. There are two kinds of things like this. But he said, I promise, just once. Oh well. Suyisha stopped him again, Don't worry, wait a moment. What's wrong? Li Jie was a little confused. You have to. Suyisha said softly. Li Jie was stunned for a moment, and suddenly understood that she was not regretting her sudden resistance last night. But not now. This is a single room, not a couple's room, and there are no safety supplies in the room. If you don't have it, go buy it. Li Jie. Now asking him to stop and run to buy safety supplies, wouldn't this cost lives? When Suyisha heard this, she immediately became a little anxious. Are you still embarrassed to say it? This is my first time. At this point, her expression paused and she didn't say anything further. Instead, she said, you'd better go buy it, okay? Could she be? Li Jie felt that her misophobia was a bit serious, but he felt a little strange in his heart. Not good. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 153. Li Jie, how could you be like this? More than 40 minutes later, the two of them got up and got dressed. Li Jie glanced at Suyisha, who was obviously still angry, smiled and apologized and said, Sister, I was wrong, please forgive me, next time I will never make my own decisions, I will definitely listen to you. As he said that, he reached out to hug her. Suyisha knocked his hand off unceremoniously and said with a cold face, do you still want a next time? We are done here. I will not pester you, and you should stop pestering me. She was really a little angry. Just now he insisted on not saying anything, and semi-forced her to do a lot of embarrassing actions that she had never done before. Li Jie looked at Suyisha and smiled inwardly. If he had seen the girl refuse so firmly in the past, he would have immediately backed down, but now he could see at a glance that she was strong on the outside and strong on the inside. Senior sister, do you really want to end it with me like this? He didn't allow her to resist and hugged her forcefully. Let me go, Suyisha struggled to say. I won't let go. The two struggled for a while, and Suyisha finally softened. Li Jie, don't be so domineering, I'm begging you. You have a girlfriend, and if you force me to stay like this, then I'll forgive you what, your lover? She stared at him, her eyes red, tears streaming down the corners of her eyes. Suyisha admitted that she had a crush on Li Jie, and even said she liked him a little bit, but she really couldn't do it if she was asked to be his lover in such a vague way. Seeing Suyisha crying, Li Jie couldn't help but feel a little prickly in his heart. He suddenly realized that he was really a scumbag. He was using both soft and hard tactics to force a good girl to be his lover. Does he like Suyisha? There is definitely a little bit, but more of it is possessiveness. Snapped. Li Jie, what are you doing? Suyisha was stunned for a moment and stopped crying. It turned out that Li Jie slapped himself hard. The slap was a bit harsh, and his face immediately turned red. Why are you fanning yourself when it's okay? Suyisha touched his face and said a little distressed. Li Jie smiled self-deprecatingly, I just felt that I was not a playboy, so I slapped myself to wake myself up. After saying that, he held her hand on his face and apologized seriously, Sister, it's my fault, I shouldn't have forced you again and again. I just think it's such a pity that we ended like this. But if you really feel that I have made things difficult for you, I will give up and never bother you again. Suyisha looked at him, feeling confused for a moment. She really didn't expect that Li Jie would apologize to her so sincerely, and most of her anger disappeared immediately. She wanted to say, let's end it, completely ending the relationship between the two, but she felt so painful that she couldn't say it out loud. Just let me think about it again. Okay, then think about it slowly. Li Jie smiled at her and said. He glanced at the time and found that the morning exercise for the two of them took a long time. It was already 9 o'clock. Senior, are you hungry? Let's eat first. I still ordered room service for breakfast. Suyisha's injuries were almost healed, but after being tortured like this twice by him, they were now serious again. Omelette with cheese, ham sandwich, roast pork sausage, vegetables, sponge cake, bread, etc. Ligia ordered more than a dozen kinds of food, which consumed a lot of energy and stamina. He was really hungry. As for drinks, after last night's lesson, I didn't want to drink anymore, so I ordered 2 cups of coffee. Eating a ham sandwich and drinking coffee, Ligia glanced at Suyisha and found that she was obviously a little hungry, and she was eating very deliciously. Since coming to the Czech Republic, her appetite has not been very good. This is the first time he has seen her eating so well. After eating, Ligia stayed with Suyisha for a while. At almost 10 o'clock, he said to her, "Sister, I have to go to the embassy for something. You can wait for me in the hotel." "Okay, go ahead." Suyisha glanced at him, smiled and said. Ligia looked at Suyisha and felt that something was wrong with her mood. "When I come back, I will accompany you around in the afternoon. If walking is not convenient, we can take a sightseeing carriage. Regardless of whether there is a future or not, as long as she is with him for one day, she is his woman, and he must treat her well. At least in the last 2 or 3 days in the Czech Republic, I should have fun with her and leave her with a pretty good memory." "Okay." Suyisha smiled and nodded. "Then I'm leaving." Ligia hesitated. "Ligia, if you have anything to do, go and get busy. You really don't have to worry about me. Then you wait until I come back." After Ligia left, Suyisha immediately stopped smiling. After Ligia left the hotel, he took a taxi and went straight to the embassy. Arriving at the embassy, Ligia showed his passport to the guard and said he had something to see the embassy staff. The doorman was a Czech. After looking at his passport, he said that he wanted to see the embassy staff and that he had to write down a purpose of visit first. After Ligia spent a few minutes writing down the purpose of his visit, the doorman called the staff and asked him to communicate with the staff on the phone. Ligia answered the phone and spoke to the staff. After receiving permission, the guard said he could enter the embassy. After entering the embassy, Ligia saw a second secretary named Tan in an office. Secretary Tan, who was in his early 30s, had a very enthusiastic attitude and shook hands with Ligia. "Classmate Li, are you coming to the Czech Republic for a trip?" "Yes. I am a student of Hongcheng Normal University. I will use my vacation time to travel abroad for a few days to gain some knowledge." When communicating with the staff just now, Ligia first mentioned that he was a college student. Although college students are no longer valuable after the expansion of enrollment, they belong to the country's talent reserve and can still get some attention and care. It is indeed beneficial to visit more foreign countries and broaden your horizons. Secretary Tan said a few polite words and then went directly to the topic. "Classmate Li, you said you accidentally discovered a valuable historical relic while traveling, right?" "That's right." Ligia processed what he found and said that when he was visiting the monastery, he saw a wild boar digging into something, so he looked at it curiously, and then accidentally discovered the hidden treasure. After speaking, he took out a few gold and silver coins. Secretary Tan looked at the gold and silver coins and said, "These gold and silver coins are the cultural relics you discovered. Not only that, I found a total of 27 gold coins and 1,567 silver coins." "So many." Secretary Tan was a little surprised. He thought for a while and said, "Classmate Li, if you find important cultural relics, you should contact the local municipal government and the museum. This matter is not under the control of our embassy." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 154. Ligia smiled and said, "This is my first time traveling to the Czech Republic, and I am not familiar with the place. I don't know how to contact the relevant departments and museums, so I asked the embassy to contact me. He paused and then said, I checked on the internet. These silver coins are dinar silver coins from the Roman period. The current market value is more than 4,000 euros each. These silver coins alone are worth more than 6 million euros, and those gold coins are also an ancient gold coin is equally valuable. More than 6 million euros, Secretary Tan was surprised when he heard this, and quickly asked, Classmate Li, are you sure? This kind of thing cannot be joked about. I'm sure, Li Jie said decisively. In fact, Li Jie was not sure how much these cultural relics were worth. The silver dinar coins were worth more than 6 million euros, which he read in the news. But he must state the value higher, otherwise it will be difficult to attract the attention of the embassy. Secretary Tan thought about it carefully and said, I can't make the decision on this matter. I have to talk to our director. After speaking, Secretary Tan asked Li Jie to wait here while he went to the office in the back. 10 minutes later, Li Jie met another first secretary named Chen. Secretary Chen has a very enthusiastic expression. It is the embassy's unshirkable responsibility to help overseas citizens solve various practical difficulties they encounter. It wasn't until after 12 o'clock that Li Jie walked out of the embassy. The embassy promised to send someone to help contact the Pilsen city government and the museum, and there should be no problem in the follow-up processing of this matter. Seeing that the matter was resolved and a huge bonus was about to be received, he suddenly felt very good. Just when he returned to the hotel, Li Jie was stopped by the front desk. Sir, please wait a moment, your friend has left you a message, the female receptionist said in English. Li Jie suddenly realized something, and his mood suddenly became worse. Where's my friend? She checked out and left a note for you, asking me to pass it on to you. She left anyway. Li Jie sighed inwardly and took the note from the female receptionist. Before he went to the embassy, he saw that Suyisha was not in a good mood and might leave, so he indirectly said something to persuade her to stay. But it seemed useless now, so she left anyway. Li Jie, I have something to do at home, so I'm going back to China early. Let's meet again by chance. Goodbye. Li Jie shook his head and put away the note. Suyisha didn't know how to choose, so she chose to escape. If he didn't go to her, the relationship between the two would be over. Maybe it would be good for both parties to calm down. The relationship between him and Suyisha happened too suddenly and had no emotional basis. Suyisha may have a slight liking for him, but more of it is due to impulse. As for him, it was just a matter of sex. He wanted to keep her, mostly because of possessiveness and sense of responsibility. But Li Jie knew better that he couldn't keep every girl he had sex with. This was unrealistic. However, after waiting for a while, he would still go to see Suyisha and completely settle the relationship. No longer entangled in emotional issues, Li Jie focused all his energy on the follow-up processing of the treasure. That afternoon, he went to the embassy again with all the gold and silver coins. After Secretary Chen confirmed that the situation was indeed true, he arranged for Secretary Tan to be responsible for the matter. Accompanied by Secretary Tan, Li Jie contacted the Cultural Relics Department of Pilsen City and the local museum. After identification by archaeological experts, these coins are dinar currency from the late 15th to the early 16th century. Czech archaeologists have never dug up so many ancient coins before, usually one or two. In other words, apart from the name dinar, these coins have nothing to do with the dinar currency of the Roman period. Li Jie guessed wrong. According to auction experts from the Cultural Relics Department, a 16th century Hungarian dinar silver coin is currently worth as much as 4,000 euros, 30,000 yuan. In other words, these 1,567 silver coins are worth a total of more than 6.2 million euros and more than 47 million yuan. The value of gold coins is higher. The current market value is around 15,000 euros, 115,000 yuan. The total value of 27 gold coins is more than 400,000 euros and more than 3.1 million yuan. The total value of these coins is as high as 6.6 million euros, equivalent to more than 50 million yuan. In addition, after archaeologists visited the location where the treasure was found, they determined that these coins should have been hastily buried by refugees from the war. The buriers did not retrieve the coins and were probably killed. Therefore, these coins have nothing to do with the monastery. These coins are important historical relics of the Czech Republic and cannot be taken out of the country by leisure. According to Czech cultural heritage regulations, all coins will be collected in museums, and leisure, as the discoverer of the coins, will receive a bonus equivalent to 100% of the market value of these coins, which is more than 6.6 million euros. In fact, leisure is a bit unworthy of being a villain. After communicating with the Czech Cultural Relics Department, he learned that the Czech Republic has a strong awareness of cultural relics protection. The Ministry of Culture allocates large sums of funds every year to protect cultural heritage and ancient buildings. Last year, the Ministry of Culture applied for us $100 million in funding for the restoration and construction of the National Museum and National Library. To put it simply, the Cultural Relics Department is not short of money. Even if Liege calls the Cultural Relics Department and the museum directly after discovering the treasure, it is unlikely that they will hide his bonus. However, even if Liege had to choose again, he would still contact the embassy first. Although the reward agreement for the discovery of historical relics has been signed, it will take some time for the reward to arrive. After all, just calculating the specific value of this coin cannot be completed in 3 or 2 days. It is estimated that it will take at least 10 days. Liege didn't want to wait any longer in the Czech Republic, so he told Secretary Tan that he wanted to go home for the new year first and entrusted him with the follow-up procedures. After signing the reward agreement, Liege also met with the ambassador. In order to thank the embassy for its help, he proposed to donate a batch of office equipment to the embassy after receiving the bonus, but the ambassador said that it was not needed as long as he paid taxes as usual. Citizens also have to pay taxes on unexpected income earned overseas. After Liege receives this bonus of more than 50 million yuan, he is expected to pay more than 9 million yuan in taxes. This is because there is a certain tax exemption limit for overseas income, which exempts part of the tax. Otherwise you will have to pay more. In addition, the ambassador hopes that after Liege receives the bonus, he can hand over the foreign exchange to the country as foreign exchange reserves. It is said that it is handed over to the country, but in fact it is sold to the country and the euros are exchanged for the equivalent value of RMB. Liege immediately said that there was no problem. He was going to take the money back home. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Liu Enjet. Chapter 155. On February 4, the day after signing the reward agreement, Liege was ready to return to China. On the morning of the 4th, Secretary Tan sent him to the airport specially. "Xiaozhe, have a safe journey. Brother Tan, I have to trouble you with some follow-up procedures." Although the office equipment proposed to be donated was confiscated by the embassy, Liege must express his gratitude to Secretary Tan for helping out during these 2 days. Of course, Liege didn't send any expensive gifts. He didn't dare to bribe state cadres, and Secretary Tan wouldn't accept them. He just sent a souvenir of low value. In addition, he also sent a banner and a letter of thanks to the embassy. Speaking of which, Secretary Tan was Liege's first contact after his rebirth, but a second secretary in an embassy didn't have any real power. After bidding farewell to Secretary Tan, Liege got on the plane back to China. After another 14 hours of flight, the plane arrived at Pudong Airport at 1:55 a.m. on the 5th. As soon as Liege walked out of the security check channel, he saw Zhou Ziyu, wearing long boots, black slim-fitting pants, a blue bottoming sweater, and a down coat, walking over with a smile. "Husband, you are back." Li Jie smiled, stretched out his hand to hug her. "Didn't I tell you that I wouldn't let you pick me up at the airport? It's too much trouble in the middle of the night." "But I want to see you as soon as possible," Josie said slowly and softly, her voice full of tenderness. This little lover is so talkative and lovable. After Li Jie saw Josie, he immediately felt much better. After kissing her charming face, he took her hand and wanted to walk out of the airport. "Have the tickets been booked?" "It's booked, the train is around 9 o'clock. "That's good." In 2007, there was no airport in Luanzhou City. To take a flight, you had to transfer from Beijing. Li Jie thought it was too much trouble, so he asked Zhou Ziyu to book 2 soft sleeper tickets from Shanghai to Luanzhou City in advance. The K-prefixed express takes more than 18 hours to reach Luanzhou City, which is much slower than flying, but it is better than not having to transfer. After leaving the airport and returning to the room Zhou Ziyu had booked in a nearby hotel, Li Jie took off his coat first, and Zhou Ziyu took the coat from him and hung it on the hanger. "Honey, you must be very tired after flying for such a long time. Go take a shower and then have a good sleep," she said as she took off her down coat. As soon as she took off her coat, her graceful figure was immediately revealed. Li Jie looked at Zhou Ziyu, and couldn't help but feel a little hot in his heart. He put his arms around her body, lowered his head and kissed her red and soft lips. He stroked her back with one hand and inserted his other hand from the hem of the sweater. He hadn't seen her for more than a week and he really missed her. Zhou Ziyu catered to his movements, and between passionate kisses, she gasped and said, "Honey, you'd better take a shower first." "Wash together," Li Jie gasped and began to take off her clothes. "Save water, start from him." "Hubby, let me take it off myself." Seeing Li Jie tugging at her clothes, Zhou Ziyu said with a sweet smile. "Okay, come on." Li Jie let go of her. To be honest, watching Zhou Ziyu wear clothes is a kind of enjoyment, and watching her take off clothes is even more enjoyable. Zhou Ziyu first took off her blue sweater and then her black tights. After more than an hour, the bath was completed. After Li Jie helped Zhou Ziyu dry her body and hair, he carried her back to the room and went to bed. Lying on the quilt, holding Zhou Ziyu's soft and warm body, smelling the fragrance of her hair, he felt particularly satisfied. Li Jie liked this most intimate contact very much, as if he had everything about this little lover. That night with Suyisha, Li Jie enjoyed her body indescribably, but it was Zhou Ziyu who made him most obsessed and greedy. He only looks at faces, and looking at Zhou Ziyu's beautiful face, revealing an irresistible charm, is the greatest satisfaction of possessiveness. Zhou Ziyu was really exhausted. She lay so tiredly in Li Jie's arms that she couldn't even open her eyes. Li Jie kissed her on the cheek lovingly and said with a smile, "By the way, I brought you a gift." Zhou Ziyu managed to cheer up, smiled at him, and said, "What gift?" Li Jie got up from the bed, picked up the clothes on the floor, and took out a gold coin. Then he returned to the bed, took Zhou Ziyu's little hand, and put the gold coin in her hand. "This is it." This gold coin was one of the 2 gold coins discovered by Li Jie for the second time. He did not give these 2 gold coins to the Czech authorities but kept them himself and took them back to the country. Gold coins, Zhou Ziyu was surprised when he looked at the gold coins in his hand. "Husband, where did you get the gold coins?" "What I gained from this trip to the Czech Republic." "Husband, have you found an antique?" Zhou Ziyu guessed. Li Jie smiled and said, "That's pretty much it. I made a small windfall." Windfall? Zhou Ziyu was obviously curious, but she did not ask further. "So, hubby, your job is done." "It's done." "That's good. You don't want to know what I did in the Czech Republic?" Li Jie couldn't help but ask. "Husband, if you want to share with me, I want to know." "If you don't want to share with me, I don't want to know," Zhou Ziyu said softly with a smile. Li Jie couldn't help but laugh, and stretched out his hand to scratch her straight little nose. Why are you so smart and so annoying? I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 156. For the first time, he felt that meeting Josie was a blessing in life. She is gentle, considerate, knows how to advance and retreat, knows how to measure, and most importantly, she is very beautiful. It is really difficult to meet another girl like this again. As for being a little cautious, this is not a disadvantage, but an advantage. Honey, does this gold coin have an origin? Josie asked softly. This is a Hungarian gold coin, dating from the end of the 15th century to the beginning of the 16th century. After Li Jie told the origin of the gold coin, Josie didn't respond. He looked down and found that she was already sleeping on his chest. On fire. It seemed like she was really exhausted. Li Jie chuckled lightly, took the gold coin out of her hand, put it aside, then turned off the light and fell asleep. In the morning, Li Jie and Josie were woken up by the alarm. Honey, is it time yet? Josie opened her eyes sleepily and said lazily. Li Jie picked up the mobile phone on the bedside table, took a look at it, and found that it was already 8 o'clock. Well, it's time to get up. When the two returned to the hotel, they ordered too much, spent more than an hour in the bathroom, and chatted for a while. It was already 4 o'clock when they went to bed, and they had only slept for 4 hours. After getting up and washing up, Josie was a little hesitant when choosing clothes. Hubby, what do you think I should wear? Li Jie glanced at her while putting on his coat. Wear whatever you like. But, I don't want to go home with you. Josie looked a little worried. Auntie, what kind of girl do you like? Li Jie was stunned for a moment and couldn't help but smile. An ugly daughter-in-law is afraid of meeting her parents-in-law. What do you have to be afraid of when you are so beautiful? You can dress up however you want, don't have any worries, my mother will definitely like you. Yeah, Josie smiled and hummed softly. Even though Li Jie said she could dress up any way she wanted, she still chose a very conservative outfit, an ordinary white down jacket, jeans, and flat shoes. Her loose hair was tied into a ponytail, and she didn't even put on makeup. Just put on a little lip balm. I have to say that when a person is beautiful, she will look good in anything she wears. Even such an ordinary dress will look unique. After packing, it was almost 8:30. Li Jie put on his backpack and took the small suitcase from Josie. Let's go quickly. Josie held a small handbag and walked out of the hotel side by side with Li Jie. After taking a look at Li Jie beside her, she felt a little complicated. Josie knew that her appearance did not please the old man. She was a bit too charming and did not look like a girl suitable for marriage and life. She had seen Zhou Yiyang's mother, and the look in her eyes that seemed gentle and polite, but was actually filled with disgust and disgust, made her heart instantly freeze. She understood that no matter how hard she tried to please this woman, it would be of no use. They took a taxi and came to the train station. After waiting in the waiting room for more than 10 minutes, the two checked their tickets and boarded the train. Spring festival travel is the most crowded time. Seeing the crowds of people carrying large and small bags hurriedly trying to squeeze into the car, Li Jie remembered the movie People on the Road that he had watched. He used to squeeze into the train like this. He couldn't buy a ticket and stayed in one station for 5 or 6 hours. When he got tired, he would sit on the ground at the junction of the carriages to rest and squint for a while. Even if there are seats, the environment in the carriage is crowded and stuffy. Every time I catch a train during a holiday, it is a painful experience. Compared with the crowded ordinary carriages, the soft sleeper carriages are much deserted. The two came to the box. Li Jie put the small suitcase under the bunk and took off his backpack and put it aside. Josie took off his down jacket, revealing the white sweater underneath. You're hungry, let's eat something first. Li Jie took out bread, small cakes, milk and other snacks from the plastic bag containing snacks, and placed them on the small dining table. The two of them got up too late and didn't even have time to eat breakfast in order to catch the train, so Li Jie bought some snacks and fruits at the station. Zhou Ziyu tore open the packaging of a small cake and ate it in small bites. Li Jie picked up a box of milk and put it in with a straw and handed it to her. Then he also took a piece of bread and a box of milk and ate it. While the two were eating, the compartment door was opened and two other passengers came. The two are a couple. The boy is in his mid to late 20s, with a strong build and average appearance. The girl is a few years younger than the boy and looks to be in her mid-20s. She has a slender figure, a rather delicate appearance, and pretty good looks. Ken. When the boy saw Zhou Ziyu, he was obviously stunned for a moment, and then he smiled and said to Li Jie, "Brother, where are you going?" Li Jie glanced at him and said flatly, "Luanzhou." "What a coincidence, you are also going to Luanzhou." The boy's attitude was very enthusiastic. "Can I get to know you?" "My name is Su Hang, from Luanzhou, and I am currently working in Shanghai. This is my girlfriend Ou Jiao." Li Jie, from northeast China. Li Jie just nodded to Su Hang. When Li Jie took the train in the past, his popularity was not so good, and no one took the initiative to get to know him. Doesn't this guy want to be friends with his girlfriend because he sees her beauty? You should still be in school, right? Right. Where do you go to school? Li Jie had no intention of chatting with the other party and just dealt with it casually. Su Hang's girlfriend was a little impatient when she saw that he kept chatting with others. "Su Hang, I want to eat an apple, please help me wash one." Su Hang glanced at his girlfriend, found a few apples from his bag, and washed them. After eating, Zhou Ziyu went to sleep on the upper bunk, and Li Jie also slept on the lower bunk. When Su Hang came back from washing the apples, he found that both of them were asleep, and couldn't help but look at Zhou Ziyu in the upper bunk a few more times. After his girlfriend Ou Jiao noticed it, she immediately glared at him. Su Hang quickly apologized and said, "Jia, eat the apple." As he spoke, he picked the largest apple and handed it to her. Ou Jiao glanced at her boyfriend, took the apple and took a bite. After Zhou Ziyu woke up, she stretched lazily, picked up her phone and looked at it, and found that it was already past 1 p.m. She got off the upper bunk and saw that Li Jie had gotten up early and was playing with her Asus laptop. "Husband, get up." Li Jie raised his head and smiled at her. "Let me revise the new chapters you wrote." "Husband, you are so kind." Zhou Ziyu sat down next to him and quietly watched him revise the manuscript. About half an hour later, Li Jie closed the computer and said, "There is still one chapter that has not been changed. Let's go eat first." "Good." After watching Li Jie and Zhou Ziyu leave, Su Hang glanced at his girlfriend who was leaning on his shoulder and listening to music, and said to himself, "When will she be able to call me husband so gently?" After eating in the dining car, he returned to the private room. After Li Jie finished revising the remaining manuscript, he said to Zhou Ziyu, "How about we watch a movie?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 157. Okay, Zhou Ziyu said with a chuckle. Do you have any movies on your computer? I downloaded a few. Li Jie took a look and found that Zhou Ziyu's 7 or 8 films were all dramas and suspense films, and there was only one romance film. Butterfly Effect, Master Key, The Sixth Sense, Cat and Mouse Game. These don't seem like movies that girls would like to watch. Li Jie randomly selected a movie called The Master Key and asked, "Have you seen this one?" "I haven't read it yet." Zhou Ziyu took a look and said. Plugging in the headphones and giving one to Zhou Ziyu, Li Jie hugged her and watched the movie. After watching for a while, Zhou took out a few oranges from the fruit bag, then peeled one off and fed it to him piece by piece. While watching the movie and eating the oranges fed by Zhou, Li Jie secretly sighed that he had fallen. In fact, he is a person who is particularly unwilling to boss others around. As long as it is something he can do alone, he will not ask for help from others. But he recently discovered that he actually enjoyed Zhou's care. Even if he wants to eat fruit, he doesn't want to do it himself, so he just waits for her to feed him. This has been waiting for. Across the way, Su Hang was peeling melon seeds for his girlfriend, while his girlfriend Ouga was eating the melon seeds he peeled while watching TV. She would giggle when she saw something interesting. Su Hang glanced at his girlfriend and then at Zhou opposite, his eyes widened with envy. How could there be such a good girl in this world, not to mention she is very beautiful, has a good personality, is gentle and considerate, and takes good care of her boyfriend. Looking at the young boy who was waiting for his girlfriend to take care of him like an old man, Su Hang couldn't figure out how he could catch such a good girl even though he looked like a very ordinary boy. I remember that in order to catch up with Ouga, he ran back and forth and chased her like a horse for more than half a year. Even after he caught her, he still served her like an ancestor. If she was as gentle as the girl opposite him, he would be satisfied. Su Hang really wanted to ask the girl opposite if she had any sisters at home, but after looking at his girlfriend next to him, he immediately stopped thinking. It is not easy to chase a girl, especially a pretty girl, so you must cherish it. Be squeamish, just be squeamish. After watching this movie called The Master Key, Li Jie felt a little depressed. Evil people cannot be punished, and kind people are imprisoned for the rest of their lives. The most evil thing in human nature is to use one's kindness and justice to harm others. Tsuyu, shall we watch another movie? Okay. Zhou glanced at him and said softly. The train arrived at Luanzhou North Station at around 7 o'clock on New Year's Eve the next day. Seeing the boy opposite helping his girlfriend put on her coat and pack her things, Li Jackson said, "This is really a good man who works hard and never complains." Along the way, he saw that the girls across from him were treating boys like servants like the eldest lady, and the boys were also willing to do so. Following the flow of people out of the station, I saw several drivers soliciting customers. "Young man, where are you going?" "Be my car, there are only 2 people left." It's not easy to solicit customers during the Chinese New Year. After getting rid of several soliciting drivers, Li Jie said to Zhou, "Let's go buy some gifts first." Zhou nodded slightly and said, "What would auntie like?" "How about I buy some nutritional supplements?" "No, let's just buy some fruits and snacks. My mother is more pragmatic. If you buy nutritional supplements, she will just think you are wasting money." "Okay. Husband, I listen to you." The two strolled around the train station and bought a large fruit basket and 2 boxes of branded cakes. Then they took a taxi and went straight to their home. Li Jie's mother's hometown is Shangsanli village, a small village under Yangji town, Yangji district, Luanzhou city. The village is also a 20 to 30-minute drive from the city. 10 years later, this village has become a rural tourist attraction. Every holiday, many people from the urban area come here to visit. On New Year's Eve, sporadic firecrackers can be heard in Zhuangzi from time to time. Spring couplets and blessing characters are pasted on the doors of every house, and some even hang red lanterns. On the village road, children were chasing and playing and setting off firecrackers. Li Jie had not been back to this village for almost 10 years. Looking at the scenery outside the car, he felt both familiar and unfamiliar. The taxi stopped in front of the gate of an ordinary house. The two got out of the car. Li Jie was carrying a suitcase and a large fruit basket, while Zhou was holding 2 boxes of pastries. In the house opposite, a woman in her 40s came out to pour water. When she saw the two of them, she asked curiously, "Are you relatives of the old Cheng family?" As long as her eyes were on Josiu, she felt that this girl was so handsome. Yes, Li Jie smiled and nodded to the other party. He should actually know the other person. After all, he has lived in this village for 3 or 4 years. It's just that so many years have passed and he really can't remember him. He just feels familiar. Tsuyu, let's go in, Li Jie turned back to Josiu and said. He paid special attention to her expression and didn't see the emoticon he wanted to see. There was no expression of surprise or confusion on her face, only nervousness and worry. Husband, Anta won't like me, right? This was the first time that Li Jie saw Josiu so nervous. It turned out that she also panicked, so she smiled and said, "It's okay, let's go." After saying that, he opened the small door on the main door and walked in. Josiu breathed a sigh of relief, calmed down, and followed in. In the yard, a chained yellow native dog started barking when it saw another stranger coming in. Hearing the noise, a fat girl aged 16 or 17 came out of the main room. When she saw the two of them, she asked in surprise, "Who are you looking for?" Li Jie looked at the girl and asked with a smile, "Xiao Shuang, are my fourth aunt and fourth uncle in good health?" When the girl heard this, she was stunned for a moment. After looking at Li Jie carefully, she said in an uncertain tone, "Second brother." "Yes, I am Li Jie," Li Jie said with a smile. In this life, the last time he came to his fourth aunt's house was probably when he came back from the Northeast when he was a freshman in high school. 3 years have passed, especially the 6 months since his rebirth. His image and temperament have changed so much that his cousin Cheng Shuang can't stand him. "It's normal to come." "Second brother, is it really you?" Cheng Shuang said in surprise. Then he shouted to the old blue brick house next to the main house, "Auntie, my second brother is back." Hearing the shouting, a woman in plain clothes and about 56 or 17 years old came out. This woman is Li Jie's mother, Zhao Shifen. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 158. Li Jie's mother has 6 brothers and sisters in total. She is the eldest of the family. She has taken care of her younger brothers and sisters since she was a child. When she grew up, she went to live with her relatives and went to the Northeast to work. She sent most of the money she earned back to her family. When I come back during the Chinese New Year, I bring food and clothing in bags for my family. It can be said that her younger brothers and sisters were indirectly raised by her. When it first opened, she could send home more than 1,000 yuan a year with her good carpentry skills. At that time, an adult male laborer on the production team only paid more than 1 yuan a day for 10 centimeters. However, it backfired, and a favor turned into an enemy. When she stopped making money, her relationship with her brothers and sisters took a turn for the worse, and she became the one who was isolated and least liked. Because you help others too much, you become dependent on them, and your gratitude becomes a matter of course. Once you stop helping others, you will become jealous. In addition, you have helped me so much, and now you are in trouble and need help. Do I want to repay you? But if the relationship between us is not good, I don't need to repay it. In addition, she has 2 sons, and people avoid her even more. Otherwise, if I have a good relationship with you, what should you do if you borrow money from me? For 2 sons, they need a lot of money to find a wife, build a house, and provide bride price. My mother often complained about this, feeling that the younger brothers and sisters had no friendship at all. But in Li Jie's view, don't repay kindness and don't expect others to be grateful. Because things like kindness are the easiest to clear and the most unreliable. Mom, Li Jie called softly. Compared with more than 10 years later, my mother is undoubtedly much younger, and there are still very few gray hairs on her hair. Mother Li was stunned for a moment when she saw Li Jie, and then said a little complaining, "You have been on vacation for so long, why do you have to come back at 30? After she finished speaking, she noticed Zhou Ziyu behind Li Jie and was stunned. It took 7 or 8 seconds before she came back to her senses and asked hesitantly, "Who is this?" At this time, another middle-aged couple in their 40s came out of the main room, followed by a little girl of about 10 years old. "Fourth aunt, fourth uncle," Li Jie said to the two of them. The middle-aged couple are Li Jie's fourth aunt and uncle, and the little girl is Li Jie's cousin Cheng Qian. When the fourth aunt saw Li Jie, she just said, "Xiao Jie, you are back." The fourth uncle's attitude was very enthusiastic. "Xiao Jie, why did you come back at 30? Come to our room to have something to eat together later." When the two of them saw Zhou Ziyu, they were also stunned. "Who is this girl?" the fourth uncle asked in surprise. Li Jie looked at his mother, then at his fourth aunt and uncle, smiled, and introduced, "This is my college classmate, Zhou Ziyu." After a pause, he added, "She's also my girlfriend. If you bring a girl home to celebrate the new year, no one will believe you if you say that your relationship with her is just an ordinary classmate. If Zhou Ziyu doesn't want to be in a situation where he can't live in peace, he can only disclose his identity." "Girlfriend?" Mother Li was stunned again. The fourth aunt and the fourth uncle looked at each other in disbelief. There are also people in the village who take classmates and friends to their homes, but there has never been one who took people here during the Chinese New Year and was so beautiful. "Hello, auntie," "Hello fourth aunt, fourth uncle. I am Li Jie's girlfriend, Zhou Ziyu." Zhou Ziyu had a slight smile on his face and called out nicely. She didn't expect that Li Jie would introduce her as his girlfriend in front of everyone, and she couldn't help but feel a little surprised. At this time, everyone realized what they were doing. Mother Li quickly said enthusiastically, "Ziyu, right? You are welcome to come home to celebrate the new year." The fourth uncle also said enthusiastically, "Xiao Zhou, you are welcome to come and play at home." Li Jie smiled at Zhou Ziyu and said, "Ziyu, let's go into the house." Mother Li also reacted and said, "Yes, come in quickly." Li Jie turned to his fourth aunt and uncle and said with a smile, "Fourth aunt, fourth uncle, I will come over later to pay you New Year's greetings." Okay," the fourth aunt and fourth uncle looked at the generous and decent Li Jie, as if they didn't recognize him. The three of them entered the old house, passed through the outer room, and came to the inner room. The house where Li Jie's mother lived was originally where Li Jie's fourth aunt's parents-in-law lived. After the two old people passed away, she repeatedly asked Li Jie's mother to stop renting a house and move here, so Li's mother moved here. Li's mother did not have a house in the village. Although this was her hometown, she went to the northeast to work when she was young. When she came back many years later, she became an outsider. This old house is still a brick house built in the 1970s and 1980s, so you can imagine the conditions. There are only some old furniture from the 1980s and 1990s in the house, and there are no home appliances. There is only an old TV, which is an old-fashioned picture tube TV. Seeing that the conditions were so simple, Zhou Ziyu's face didn't change at all and looked as usual. "Auntie, this is your first time here. I didn't know what you liked, so I bought a fruit basket and 2 boxes of snacks with Li Jie," she said with a slow smile. "As long as people are here, why are you buying things?" Mother Li took the things and put them aside, then took a rag and wiped the dust on the Kong. "Xiao Zhou, sit down quickly. The fire is not burning, the room is a bit cold. If you are cold, take off your shoes, go sit on the Kong. Then," she said, "drink some water? I'll make you some tea." Zhou Ziyu sat down on the edge of the Kong and said with a smile, "Auntie, don't be busy, I'm not thirsty." Li Jie glanced at his mother and asked, "Mom, where is my brother? What is he doing?" "He went to Han Fei's house." Han Fei is Li Jie's brother and his current girlfriend. Li Jie shook his head in his heart. This brother of his will definitely be a good husband and son-in-law in the future. Even before he gets married, his heart has already gone to his family. "Girlfriend, What your future father-in-law or mother-in-law say is more effective than anyone else's words. Mother Lee took a plate of melon seed candies and a plate of oranges and placed them in front of Josiu. Eat some candies, melon seeds, and fruits. After saying that, she also sat down on the other end of the Kong. Thank you, Aunt. Xiaojie, peel an orange for me. Okay, Li Jie smiled, picked up an orange, peeled it and handed it to Josiu. Josiu had been waiting for him on the train, and now he was waiting for her too. Mother Li looked at Josiu, who was eating oranges gracefully. The more she looked at her, the more incredible she became. This girl was so beautiful, and she looked like she was pampered. How did she fall in love with Li Jie? Her second son's character was honest and arrogant, and he didn't like to talk much. He was really not the kind of person that girls would like. Xiaozhou, where are you from? I'm from Spring City in northeast China. You are also from the northeast, don't you look like you? I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 159. Well, I have been living in Hangzhou with my mother since the third year of junior high school. Oh, like this. Then you and Ziaji are classmates. No, we are classmates at the same school. Mother Li was even more surprised when she heard this. After chatting with the parents for a while, Mother Li said, Xiaozhou, I didn't know you would come over. Xiaozhie didn't tell me in advance, so I have no preparation. What do you want to eat? I'll buy it for you. Auntie, there's really no need to prepare anything special. I'll just eat whatever you want with me, Josiu said politely. That's definitely not possible. You are a guest, so you can't be too complacent. After saying that, Mother Li said to Li Jie, Xiaojie, go to the canteen to buy something. Just go to the canteen near the brigade headquarters. Li Jie nodded to his mother, okay. He understood that his mother was just looking for an excuse to send him away. As soon as Li Jie walked to the main room, Li's mother followed him, holding the big fruit basket and 2 pastries in her hands, and said, send this to your fourth aunt and the others, and wish them a happy new year. Li Jie took the things and expressed that he understood. In fact, he had known this would happen. Even if he bought some expensive nutritional supplements, his mother would only complain about spending money indiscriminately, and then ask him to send the things to his fourth aunt and the others. His mother was like this, she cared too much about face and couldn't lose face. There are some good things that I would be reluctant to eat myself, but would be generous to give to others. Even if you give them to others, you should choose the good and big vegetables you grow yourself, and leave the bad ones for yourself. After Li Jie left, Mother Li returned to the house, chatted with Josiu for a few more words, and then asked, Xiaozhou, do your family members know about you and Xiaojie? If you don't go home during the new year, they won't worried. Josiu looked at Mother Li and said softly, my mother knows, and she also agrees. Mother Li's expression paused, then she thought for a moment and said, Xiaozhou, you have seen the conditions of our family. It doesn't matter what you want. Don't you mind at all? Josiu chuckled lightly and said, Auntie, you don't have to worry about this. What I like is Li Jie. As long as he treats me well, that's enough. It has nothing to do with his family background. Don't your family members mind? Do not mind. Josiu said seriously, if I can get the certificate now, and if Li Jie is willing to marry me, I will marry him now. Mother Li looked at the girl in front of her and was speechless. She sighed and said, of course Ziaji is willing to marry you, but I'm afraid he's not good enough for you. This girl is indeed very good, but she is too good, so good that her son is not worthy of her. Such a beautiful girl cannot be kept and raised by her ordinary son. Moreover, she doesn't want to say anything now, just because she is too young and her thoughts are very simple. Do you think that in a few years, when she reaches the age of marriage, will she want a house? Do you want a bride price? Auntie, Li Jie is very good and worthy of me, Zhou said softly. Mother Li thought for a while and said, Xiaozhou, Auntie is not saying that she is against you being together. She just thinks that you are still too young and your thinking is not mature enough. You two can try to get along, but you must pay attention to the scale and don't act impulsively. Decide to avoid regret later. Do you understand what I mean? Auntie, I understand. Zhou looked at Mother Li, and she understood a little bit why Li Jie had money but didn't tell his family at all. This old man has a typical Capricorn character. He cares very much about the opinions of others. He has a gentle and tolerant attitude towards others. He is afraid of leaving a bad impression on others and thus damaging his own face. He has a good personality and a good temper. He looks gentle and weak but is actually extremely strong. He is extremely paranoid and stubborn about what he believes in. He will go all the way to the dark side and no one can persuade him. He is the kind of character who is soft on the outside but strong on the inside. Outsiders may find people with this kind of personality easy to get along with, but for people who are really close to them, it can be a bit uncomfortable. Because they will leave the good side to outsiders and the bad side to those close to them. Just like this time, if she hadn't come and it was really just an ordinary girl, there would have been conflicts. As a mother, she just acted according to her own ideas and did not consider Li Jie's thoughts and feelings at all. Li Jie carried his things to the door of his fourth aunt's house, paused, and then walked in. His family has a relatively good relationship with his fourth aunt's family. When he and his mother first came back, their little cousin Cheng Qian had just been born. During the busy farming season of spring planting and autumn harvest, someone needed help to look after the child. And my mother, my aunt, helps take care of my niece. In return, the fourth aunt and uncle would send some grain and oil to his family from time to time. In the same manner of reciprocity, my mother would also buy a lot of candies, melon seeds, snacks, and fruits for my sister during the New Year and holidays. It can be said that there is not much friendship at all between the two families, and it is more about making friends for immediate use. And his family is in a disadvantaged position. One thing that impressed Li Jie deeply was that when he was a child, his cousin Cheng Shuang said in a superior tone, "Your family would starve to death if I didn't send food to you." In addition, the reason why the fourth aunt repeatedly persuaded his mother to move here was because the fourth uncle was in poor health and could not do farm work. His mother Li lives here and can help with some farm work. Li Jie walked through the outer room and came to the inner room. His fourth aunt and his fourth aunt immediately asked him to sit down and eat sweets and melon seeds. His two cousins, Cheng Shuang and Cheng Qian, also called out, "Second brother." Li Jie responded with a smile, then took out two red envelopes from the inner pocket of his coat and gave one to each of them. The fourth uncle quickly stopped and said, "Xiaojie, what are you doing? You don't make any money yourself, so why do you give them money?" Li Jie smiled and said, "Just let them take it. As the second brother, I have never given you any New Year's money. Besides, I can make some money now by writing books online. This money belongs to me, given by myself." Writing a book online, both the fourth aunt and the fourth uncle were surprised. "Can I make money from this?" asked the fourth aunt. "I can make some money, which is enough for my living expenses," Li Jie said lightly. "Okay, then Xiao Shuang and Xiao Qian, just keep it." After hearing what Li Jie said, the fourth uncle no longer refused. "Xiao Jie, how long have you and Xiao Zhou been together?" the fourth uncle asked with a smile. "Almost a semester." "So, you guys got together again not long after school started?" "Right. A girl followed a boy home not long after they were together. If outsiders found out, they would think the girl was very frivolous, so Li Jie tried his best to maximize the time he spent with Zhou. Thank you everyone for your subscription, tips, and votes. Also please subscribe. Just these 4 chapters today. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 160. After chatting for a while, Li Zhe stood up. Xiaozhe, why are you in such a hurry? Can you sit there for a while before leaving? No, I have to buy some things, so I won't stay any longer. The fourth aunt and uncle, as well as two cousins, Xiao Shuang and Xiao Qian, kept sending Li Zhe outside the house. After watching Li Zhe walk away, they returned to the house. The fourth aunt's tone was a little confused. Lao Cheng, you said that little Zhou is so handsome and his family seems to be in good condition. Why did you fall in love with Li Zhe? The fourth uncle did not answer his wife's question, but sighed, this kid, Xiaozhe, will definitely be very successful in the future. What do you mean? Don't think that this little girl is stupid and easy to deceive. There must be a reason why this girl with such good conditions would fall in love with Xiaozhe. Look at what he said and acted just now. How does he look like a student who is still in school? Zhepeng, Li Zhe, his brother, is 28 this year, and he doesn't look as mature as him. To be honest, I haven't seen him for 3 years, and I don't even dare to recognize him. At this time, Cheng Shuang cried out in surprise, Dad, Mom, my second brother has guaranteed 500 yuan. Cheng Qian also said, second brother, you also gave me a package of 500 yuan. The couple, the fourth aunt and the fourth uncle, couldn't help but look at each other. They originally thought that Li Zhe would only cover 100 or 200 yuan. Walking on the village road, Li Zhe can feel the attention of others from time to time. There are only more than 2,000 people in this small village. It cannot be said that they all know each other, but at least they are familiar with each other. When he finds a stranger coming to the village, he will take another look. In front of the small shop in front of the brigade headquarters, a group of idlers from the village gathered, playing poker, gossiping and bragging. When Li Zhe walked over, many people focused on him. A somewhat slovenly man in his 40s, wearing a black cotton padded jacket and an old cotton hat, said, young man, you are the nephew of the old Cheng family, the second son of the old Zhao family, right? Li Zhe glanced at the other party and said, yes. You don't remember me? You saw me when you were a child. Li Jackson said, what happened more than 10 years ago? No, it happened more than 20 years ago. Where can I remember it? I heard that you have been admitted to college, right? You are really promising. Is this the Chinese New Year? Are you bringing your date to see your mother? The news spread really fast. It didn't take long for the news to spread. Of course, it is these idlers who are the most well informed. After dealing with the other party, Li Zhe walked into the canteen and bought a lot of cooked food, side dishes, beer, and drinks. Although today is New Year's Eve, he knows that his mother must not have prepared many dishes because there are not many people eating at home. During the New Year, she usually just stir-fries 5 or 6 hot dishes and stews some meat. When I returned home with the shopping, I found that Zhou Ziyu and her mother were having a good chat. Li Zhe was relieved about this. With Zhou Ziyu's emotional intelligence, there was no one she couldn't handle. Seeing Li Zhe coming back, Li's mother said to Zhou Ziyu, Xiaozhou, are you hungry? I'm going to cook, and let's eat first. Li Zhe looked at the time and found that it was not yet 10 o'clock. It's too early to eat now. Besides, my brother hasn't come back yet. There's no need to wait for him. He never knows when he will come back. Seeing Li's mother getting up to cook, Zhou Ziyu said, Auntie, how about I help you? Mother Li glanced at Zhou Ziyu and felt that such a beautiful girl should have never done much housework. You are a guest, how can I let you do it? It's okay, Auntie, just don't treat me as a guest. No, no. Mom, Ziyu, you too, don't be polite, Li Zhe interrupted the two people's negotiation. Mom, you can rest in the house while Tsuyu and I go to cook. Can you two do it? Mother Lee said a little doubtfully. Don't worry, Li Jie didn't know if Joseo could do it, but he definitely could. The two came to the kitchen of the outhouse, and Li Jie said to Joseo, Zio, I'll cook, and you can help me wash the vegetables. Joseo smiled lightly and said, hubby, how about I cook? Tsuyu, can you? In Li Jie's impression, very few young girls, especially beautiful girls, can cook. People should not be too extravagant. Since you covet your girlfriend's beauty, don't expect her to be gentle, considerate, and capable of doing housework, otherwise you will take advantage of her. Husband, just let me try. I want to cook you a meal, Joseo said coquettishly. Okay, she said, so, what else could Li Jie say? Li Jie watched Joseo chopping vegetables while washing vegetables. He immediately felt relieved when he saw her chopping skills. From her skillful chopping movements, it can be seen that this is not her first time cooking. She is very skillful and has good knife skills. She cut the potatoes into fine and thin shreds and cut 2 more peppers. This sword skill alone puts Li Jie to shame. After Joseo had almost finished cutting the vegetables, Li Jie cleaned the pot and turned on the natural stove to preheat the pot. Joseo first fried a very simple spicy and sour potato shreds. After she finished frying, Li Jie picked up a few sticks with chopsticks and tasted them, and was immediately impressed. At this level he could be a cook, but with his level he couldn't do anything in front of her. Tsuyu, you haven't really learned cooking, have you? No, it's just that I've been learning to cook since I was very young, Joseo said with a smile. Li Jie thought about her experience. Her parents divorced when she was young, and she lived with her father and stepmother, relying on others, and it suddenly became clear. He couldn't help but walk up to her, hugged her slender waist from behind, and pressed his face against hers. Joseo's hand holding the shovel paused, hubby, I'm cooking, and my aunt is also in the house. It's okay, I just want to hug you. She is beautiful, has an outstanding figure, is gentle, considerate, smart, and can do all the housework. She has taken advantage of all the advantages of a girl. For a girl like Joseo, it is estimated that no man would dislike her. Li Jie found that he really fell in love with her. He no longer just coveted her tenderness and her body, but liked her from the bottom of his heart. Even though he knew that she was scheming and calculating, that she had impure motives and was greedy for material things, he still fell in love with her. If there is a scale in the human heart, the proportion of Joseo and Xiaoqiao in his heart was 1:9 before, but now it is 3:7. Hubby, the food is a bit mushy. In the back room, Mother Li opened the door curtain and was about to come out. When she saw the scene of the two being intimate, she was stunned for a moment and lowered the door curtain again. Hot and sour shredded potatoes, stir-fried pork with garlic, stir-fried shredded pork with green pepper, twice cooked pork, braised crucian carp. After working for more than an hour, Joseo cooked 7 dishes. Including the meat and chicken that Li's mother had stewed before, as well as the cooked food and side dishes that Li Jie bought, there were a total of 14 dishes, and a large table was set up, which was quite sumptuous. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 161. Auntie, how do you like it? Joseo put a piece of twice-cooked pork into Mother Li's bowl. Well, it tastes good. Xiaozhou, you are so beautiful and you cook so well. Mother Li nodded and said with a smile. Auntie, you're flattered. Li Jie glanced at his mother and noticed that her attitude was a little wrong. Compared with just now, she was a little distant and cold towards Joseo. What's going on? Li Jie shook his head in his heart. His mother seemed gentle, conceding, and kind to others, and didn't care about anything. In fact, she was extremely strong-willed, very face-conscious, duplicitous, thinking too much, and thinking too much. He grew up listening to his mother's complaints, so he always had understanding and sympathy for her in his heart and felt that it was very difficult for her. He never doubted what his mother said, he believed everything she said. It was not until many years later that Li Zhe no longer looked at his mother emotionally but rationally that he discovered her character problems. The biggest problem is that you think too much and care too much. Before his rebirth, he no longer dared to talk to his mother, because she might misinterpret your unintentional words into something else, and she would always hold them in her heart. He is obsessed with saving face, has a very high self-esteem, and keeps things quiet when dealing with others. He does not want to break up with others, so he can only vent his grievances against others on the people closest to him. But this is his mother. There are many things that people cannot choose, such as their origin, wealth, and parents. Although we cannot choose, we can work hard to change. In this life, Li Zhe already knows how to get along with his mother, just don't get too close. She is like a hedgehog. She may not want to hurt you, but she will get hurt if you get close. Intimacy is family affection, and treating each other as guests is also family affection. In his last life, Li Zhe chose to be intimate, but in this life, he chose to treat each other with respect. There were only 3 people eating, so it was actually a bit deserted. In addition, Li Zhe and Li's mother talked very little, so the atmosphere was rather dull. Li Zhe found that his mother seemed a little dissatisfied with him. After thinking about it, he understood a little bit. She thinks too much. She probably thinks that because Zhou is so beautiful, he will definitely have a girlfriend and forget about his mother. He couldn't help but think of the time when his brother was getting married, and his mother was nagging her every day that her mother-in-law and daughter-in-law couldn't get along and so on. Yes. The relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law is not often good, but if you treat something with a negative attitude from the beginning, it will be more difficult to achieve a good result. Mother Li glanced at Li Zhe and asked, "You said you can make money by writing books online. Is this true?" "Well, about 10,000 or 20,000 yuan a month," Li Zhe nodded and said. 10 or 20,000, Li's mother sounded extremely surprised. "You won't be cheated, will you? The small health clinic she runs makes only 700 to 800 yuan a month, excluding rent. To put it bluntly, in a small private health clinic like that in the village, if you don't know how to infuse and just sell some medicine and treat minor illnesses, you won't be able to make much money. They transferred all the money to my card." "Why did they lie to me?" Li Zhe said with a smile. "Can you really make 10,000 or 20,000? If you still don't believe me, you can ask Ziyu. She also knows about my book writing." Mother Li looked at Ziyu, who smiled and said to her, "Auntie, Li Zhe can really make so much money by writing books." After hearing Ziyu say the same thing, Li's mother finally believed it and immediately beamed with joy and was in a good mood. She also somewhat understood why such a beautiful girl as Xiaozhou fell in love with Li Zhe. Due to the limitation of knowledge and vision, Mother Li thinks that earning 10,000 to 20,000 yuan a month and 200,000 yuan a year is considered to be a lot of money. "Xiaozhou, what kind of book do you write online that can make you so much money?" "It's a fantasy novel." "Fantasy novel?" Seeing that his mother didn't understand, Li Zhe explained, "Mom, you can understand that martial arts novels with more exaggerated descriptions will be earth-shattering once they start fighting. That's not even more nonsense than a martial arts novel. It's okay if you understand that way." Mother Li thought for a while and said, "It's not okay to let your brother write novels. You can teach him how to earn less. It's better than him working in a factory and working hard to earn only 1 or 2,000 yuan. And he used to like reading martial arts novels the most, especially those about Gulong. Now there are many novels he bought in the box." Li Zhe neither agreed nor disagreed. "Mom, you should ask my brother what he thinks first. If he means that, let him read novels online in his spare time. If you want to write a book, you must first read it. Internet novels are very different from previous martial arts novels. After he reads a section of the book and understands the internet novel better, he can try writing it. If he doesn't understand, he can ask me. In his previous life, Li Jie also taught his brother to write books, and it could be said that he taught him everything he could, but he didn't appreciate it. Later, he stopped teaching others to write books. This kind of thing was thankless and laborious. When he wrote the results, people thought it was him who couldn't write the results, so he was blamed. What does he have in mind? If he can make money by writing a book, it's no better than working now, Mother Li said nonchalantly. Li Jie smiled and didn't answer. After dinner, it was already past 12 o'clock. Li Jie turned on the old TV, and the three of them watched TV together. After watching TV for a while, Li's mother winked and called Li Jie out. When they came to the outhouse, Mother Li asked, "Xiao Jie, you have been writing books for several months. You should have saved some money, right?" Li Jie nodded. The novel was put on the shelves in November, and I got the first royalties in December. I have received 2 months of royalties now. Excluding the money to buy computers, mobile phones, clothes, and daily expenses, is it still there's some left? Then give it to me first. Mother Li was not polite to her son either. Isn't your brother about to get married? The money to buy a house is still tens of thousands short. Your fourth aunt is almost scared to death. She doesn't even dare to say anything to me for fear that I will ask for a loan. If we can get the money together, go ahead and buy the building directly, so you don't have to worry about it. Seriously, when your nephew is getting married, you shouldn't be able to help when you are an aunt or uncle. If you can help me raise 3,000 to 5,000, the money will be enough. Even if I ask, do you need money for your eldest nephew's wedding? Do it. It looks like the same thing. Li Jie had been hearing such complaints for more than 20 years. He really didn't want to hear them anymore and couldn't help but interrupt directly, "Mom, how much money do you still have?" "I have more than 160,000 yuan in total, and I am still short of about 30,000 yuan to buy a house. But including the gift money and the wedding money, I am at least 70,000 yuan short." After saying that, Mother Li sighed and couldn't help but start to complain again. "Your brother is also not up to expectations. He is smarter than you and has better academic performance. If he studies hard, he will definitely be able to get into a good university. No matter what, it's no better than it is now. When you marry a daughter-in-law now, you don't have any opinions at all. You just listen to the daughter-in-law, the father-in-law, and the mother-in-law. He will agree to whatever they want." His brother and his girlfriend Han Fei have reached the point of discussing marriage. But Han Fei's parents proposed that they must buy a house in the city, and they couldn't get a loan. At this time, although housing prices in Yangji district have not skyrocketed, they cost more than 3,000 per square meter. Buying a small 2-bedroom apartment with more than 60 square meters costs 200,000. "Mom, there are more than 50,000 yuan in this card. Take it first." Li Jie took out his wallet, pulled out a bank card from it, and handed it to his mother. "In a few days, my January royalties will arrive, and I will transfer another 20,000 yuan to you.